Well, good afternoon, everyone. Michael Blanc, Senior Retail Advisor, Retail Council of Canada, producer and host of the Voice of Retail podcast, a bunch of other stuff. A sponsor here today, actually. You would know me for my work at Retail Council of Canada. You might have seen me with on the virtual stage with Kevin Graff, and I just wrapped up my interview with the amazing Michael Schneider from Bunnings. So this is kind of a pre-get-together before the Excellence in Retail Awards. Ben is about to join me. Our host, Ben Mulroney, is about to join me. But we thought we'd get started. There's already a bunch of you there. And again, this is kind of a warm-up event, something a little bit fun for the Excellence of Retail Awards, which is one of my favorite evenings. And now this is, the next best thing. I was a judge as well for the Excellence of Retail Awards. So many great entries. It's going to be a very competitive night. You're all doing such amazing work out there. So listen, what we thought, why am I dressed like this and why am I out here? So, if you've ever tuned into our live streams on Wednesday night, you wouldn't see me here in this background. Well, I have launched, just for fun, a YouTube cooking show called Last Request Barbecue. So this is a bit of my set, so to speak. I got a bunch of barbecues. And as part of that, I thought it'd be interesting to learn how to be an influencer, not just talk about influencers, and how to do just fun stuff. And you know what? I'm making dinner anyway. So, now I'm putting it on film. So it's really a pile of fun. And what we thought we'd start with today is a little mixing and mingling and make a cocktail. So with my friend Paul Allenby, and some of you in the marketing industry may know Paul, he's created an amazing bespoke gin, Levenswater. So I reached out to Paul and I said, hey, I got this great fun thing going on. And, can we work together and make a drink? So we created the Last Request cocktail. That's right. It's named after my barbecue show, The Last Request. And the idea, by the way, The Last Request is, hey, if you had one thing that you could eat, what would it be? And so we've been making meals. And so if you had one cocktail to make, what would that cocktail be? So we came up with the Last Request cocktail. So, all right. So let's get started without further ado, not that we've had much ado to begin with. So what are the ingredients to the Last Request cocktail? Well, gin. Now, this is a bespoke Ontario-made gin. It's got 34 botanicals, but if you've got other gins, your other favorite gins, use those. This has got a lot of floral notes in it, so that makes a bit of a different impact. Of course, tonic water. I'm using a Fitch and Leedes tonic water today. Now I'm using the plain tonic water. Like many other tonic waters, it comes in a grapefruit or a what's this one? A pink tonic with sparkling rosé and cucumber. So anyway. At the end of the day, you want a neutral. If you're going to use something like a Levenswater or a flavored gin, you want a pretty neutral tonic. But if you, on the other hand, are going to use a neutral gin, then, feel free to pick your favorite tonic and favorite flavor. Again, I like the Fitch and Leedes bespoke tonic. Okay, that's obviously ingredient number one. And refrigerate your gin actually a little, which is strange, right? You don't usually put gin in the refrigerator. Refrigerate your gin, get it a little bit cool. And then we're going to have some grapefruit. You know what those are, of course. Grapefruit peel and grapefruit, a little bit into the grapefruit as well. And then we've got these Dutch hot peppers. That's interesting, right? Some Dutch hot peppers that we're going to put in. And why Dutch? Because actually Paul is Dutch. This is a recipe from his grandmother from Holland, actually. So some Dutch hot peppers and then some peppercorns. So you're getting the sense now that this is a bit of a spicy cocktail. Now, I've used a multicolor kind of mix of peppercorns, ground them up just a little bit, just to have that kind of effervescence and fun of the cocktails floating in your glass. All right, so without further ado, again, let's get to it. So first ingredient, of course, let's add
Hi, Michael.
little bit of ice. Hey, Ben, how are you?
After a few technical difficulties, I've managed to jump in. And what a great time to jump in, because I know that we're making a cocktail, right? And after the past 20 minutes I've had, I certainly need one. So thanks so much, and welcome to everybody. So welcome to our cocktail hour here for our event. And Michael, thank you so much for joining us. And as we mix this cocktail, why don't we talk retail shop a little bit, shall we?
Yeah, that's a pile of fun. It's gonna be great. Welcome, and yes, let's make a cocktail together, because these things are stressful without tech difficulties. But we've all been living through that, amongst other things, for the past 18 months. So here we go.
Exactly. So you said it's called The Last Request. I need some ice. Yes.
You need some ice. Start with some ice.
Okay, so let me go get a little ice. I'll be back.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
All right, Michael. I am back. Okay, so I've got my ice. I got my rock glass.
Levenswater. In this case, your Levenswater gin.
Yes.
And I'm going to do a bartender pour because I'm getting a little experience. About an ounce, maybe an ounce and change. You're hosting a big event, so maybe a little less. Yeah,
well, a little less. That's the best part of working from home. You don't have to worry about driving.
Exactly. And you know, all these things are kind of fun. So top up with the right amount of gin, and then some neutral tonic water. So not flavored, because there's lots of flavor in this gin.
All right, neutral. Here we go.
It's just sparkling white. This one here.
Yeah.
I think. Yep. Perfect. So add your tonic here.
All right.
Leave a little space at the top.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. And next is the peppers, the Dutch peppers. So slice up some Dutch peppers. I'm going to slice up a couple here myself. There we go. And
so these go in here. Okay.
So that's in.
All right.
And now a little bit of whole pepper. So grind them up a little bit, or just drop them in as whole, but just a couple, because you don't want to be. So pop a few of those in.
All right.
All right.
Done. Okay.
Done. Now a little bit of grapefruit. So a little bit of grapefruit peel, and don't be afraid. Like, get a thin one, and you're right on.
Okay.
And then give it a squeeze.
Okay.
And express it along the top of the glass.
Okay.
Get that flavor, and then drop it in. Very good. I got a second one I'm going to put in because I like that extra hint of whatever.
All right.
All right. Let's top it up a little bit.
Top it up. Okay.
Right. And now we let it sit for a minute or two. What I've learned is if you let it sit, that kind of heat kind of builds up a little bit. If you let it sit for a long time, it gets even more spicy. So
may I recommend that if you need to stir it, that's what the pepper is for.
That's a great idea. Let's do that together. There we go. That's why you do you, man. That's why you do you. So how are you? How are you? And I love your work on CTV. Every morning I'm up and watching. So how are you? And what do you think about this? You know, you're a consumer. You participate in retail firsthand, and let's talk about retail. Let's talk about what we're doing here, and let's
talk about what we're doing here, because this really brings together a bunch of trends in retail all in one place, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know, live streaming. So live streaming is very, very popular in the before time, as I call it, pre-COVID, in countries like China, where they're heavily mobile based. There's a little bit of it here. Of course, if you think about the shopping channel, today's Shopping Choice, TV shopping, they're the OG of live streaming.
Yeah.
But it's really catching on and getting mainstream. And I guess, like many other things, got accelerated during the COVID era, where, you know, shopkeepers said, listen, how do I reach out to my people that can't come to my store? Wait a minute. I have a phone and I've got some great platforms, and it's really taken off initially organically, like the store owner going, hey, anybody out there, look, I got some stuff. And now it's getting very professional, and it's a really big trend. What we're doing here will survive, so to speak, or will continue well past the COVID era.
Well, that's the one thing I noticed as well. You're right. Nobody knew what was going on, right? Nobody knew where to go. We couldn't shop. All of our old habits, our old skill sets, they didn't necessarily apply. And I think those retailers who were able to just offer a roadmap to the clueless masses, were the ones who are going to have that first mover advantage, you know, I think. And certainly, you know, you're right. I think a lot of this stuff is useful in a non-lockdown world, and now it's the norm.
Well, and you point out a really interesting idea is, you know, when the COVID hit, there was already retailers of all sizes who were actively engaging with a community, building a community. Maybe
Yeah.
it was 20 people, maybe it was 50, maybe it was 20,000. And they were already kind of at that point where they could engage the community. I always like to say about that, it's never too late, right? The old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So those who already had a community could already engage with them, whether they're, deemed essential or non-essential or whatever that. A couple other things that this represents, first of all, it's user-generated content. I'm doing this show on my kind of setback here. I've got a YouTube channel, Last Request Barbecue, that I'm doing and having just a pile of fun with. You see more of that. The platforms are there. People are at home and they're being engaging, and other people are engaging with it. The use of social media has just skyrocketed. I read a stat yesterday. You must be amazed at this. You've been in media for so long. A platform like TikTok is actually more time spent on TikTok than on YouTube in America in August. It's fundamental. You must see it in your line of work quite a bit, right?
I don't think a half an hour goes by on my show that we don't mention some content that comes from TikTok. It's so influential these days. Came out of nowhere for an old guy like myself.
Yeah, right on.
My goodness. But I also think, there were some people in the old world who, when they heard social media, the expression social media, they didn't think it applied to them. I think the name doesn't fully describe the value of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and now TikTok, because it's not purely for social anymore at all. In fact, so much business, so much commerce is going through these sites now, and there's so much money to be made for those who are willing to invest in them, that the expression social media, I just don't think lands the way it used to.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't capture everything. And the other thing we should talk about during this COVID era is how consumers kind of had to change their habits a little bit. We weren't browsing in stores. We weren't popping in to see what retailers had. We were kind of very mission oriented, right? Retailers across the country. I'm sure it was the same in your family. Let's get in, let's get out. I'm not taking the family out shopping. Just get in, get crazy, right? Toilet paper rush. Get in and get out. So a lot of consumers turn to platforms like Instagram, Facebook, the big platforms we were talking about, to actually do their browsing. And maybe this is the case. I'd love to hear what it was like in your family. When you got to the store, you pretty much knew what you wanted. You were mission oriented. You'd probably checked it out. Again, not new before the COVID era that we were doing that, but at a level that is just tremendous. Yeah. And I wanted to bring back that point about social media as a too big a catchment statement. Really, if I think of platforms like a YouTube or a TikTok, they're very engaging entertainment platforms. You don't really engage with them as much as you. Yeah. It's another form of media, right? Which you're, again, so versed in.
Yeah, I will point out, you said, what was I like before? I was actually exactly like my personality was designed for quarantine life. I was always mission oriented when I went to stores, and I'm the guy who goes online a week before I go to a restaurant to take a look at the menu, so that I can plan my meals before that. So that way I will, I'll say, all right, I'm having a big bowl of pasta at this restaurant, which means I'm not going to have any pasta prior to, so I'll enjoy it more. Right. So I'm not that I didn't change too much because of it, but change was so drastic because of the lockdown. Do you think that the change coming out of it is going to be as drastic? Are people going to be returning to stores in the ways that they were before, to the bricks and mortar experience?
Yeah, that is literally the multi-billion-dollar question. Basically, we saw a couple of things happen in COVID. We saw a great acceleration of e-commerce, 70% growth year over year from 2020 to 2019, 70% growth. Now, it was already growing at double digits, like 16%. Yeah. We've seen that moderate in 2021 as stores open. We see there's lines outside of store. People went back to the store. So it's not this kind of, I used to talk about the nonsense of the retail apocalypse. Tremendous transformation happening, but there's no apocalypse. People are changing and adjusting. No question they're doing more online. But from a consumer behavior perspective, the short answer is, as an industry, we don't know. We're not done this yet, right? B, we've never seen such a circuit breaker on consumer behavior. That old thing, a few months, a few hours, whatever number of hours to create a new habit. what new habits have been created amongst consumers after 18 months, 24 months? Some are going to stick, some are lifelong. I think underlying it all, Ben, is the idea that retail isn't just about a transaction. It's not just about buying a thing. It's cultural, it's social. And retailers, again, in the before time, we're thinking of this spectrum, experience versus efficiency. We can name retailers, many of whom you'll see tonight and many of whom are already joining us, very efficient, right? I'll get you the stuff real fast. It's not beautiful, but it's on your doorstep. You just ordered it and it's on your doorstep. Really nice, right? Other retailers say, well, on that spectrum, I want shopping to be more of an experience. I mean, when I go shopping for my wife, we've been married 25 years. I need inspiration. I go talk to associates. I love wandering around a store. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going for. Sometimes I research online. Sometimes inspiration hits me. But more than often, I can't go to a website and just do a search and get it. You know what I mean? Like, you need that kind of inspiration.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Listen, for years, I sometimes trace a parallel between sort of the retail business and the television business, because experts have been predicting the demise of both for a long time now. Yeah. And I was at a conference and I met a very successful television producer from the United States who said something that stuck with me. And I believe that it probably applies to retail as well. He said, listen, 20, 30, 40 years ago, 20, 30, 40 years from now, there will probably still be an ABC, an NBC, a CTV. They just won't look anything like they do today. The successful broadcasters will be those who participate in their own cannibalization. In other words, those technologies that some view as replacements for the bricks and mortar experience, they will participate. They will identify those as disrupting technologies. They will invest in them, and they will find a way to incorporate them into their larger ethos. And I think that that's probably true as well. I mean, these, one of the things that I want to talk to you about was hybridization. We recently heard about what happened with the Bay and Hudson's Bay now being two separate businesses. I mean, is this the way of the future?
Well, speaking to that particularly, different businesses are making decisions both on financial, marketplace, and structure purposes, right? So I think at a consumer level, you would know about it. It made a bit of headlines, but I'm not sure there'll be any real impact materially to the customer experience, which of course is first and foremost. So businesses will make different decisions. But your point about both hybridization and cannibalization, very savvy. You're doing it yourself, your network itself, right? It's got you pay-per-view, you stream, you're live, you do all those things. But from a hybridization and cannibalization, retailers say, well, listen, I'm going to offer so many ways to shop from me. I'm going to have stores. I'm going to have store pickup. I'm going to have shop from store. I'm going to deliver to your home. I'm going to go through a third party. There's no one answer. A term you would be familiar with, fragmentation, right? Media fragmentation, attention fragmentation, customer fragmentation. So retailers are standing back and saying, well, let's readjust everything from how many stores we have. Maybe we don't need as many stores downtown if more people are working from home. Let's move that volume in stores to the suburbs, perhaps, right? Maybe the stores need to function and do different things with e-commerce. Maybe they're less about pile it high and let it fly, kind of an old saying in retail, and more about look at the great things we have an experience. And again, there's a spectrum for retailers. Some retailers just want to get in and get out. Other retailers take the time to form and shape a different experience that creates sustainable competitive advantage, that moves the needle. And this is the essence of what's happening in retail today. Such a transformative time.
Michael, let's shift gears and talk about the Excellence in Retail Awards. You're a judge this year.
Yeah.
As you surveyed the landscape of all of the nominees, did you notice any trends?
Well, I think we've talked on many of them. In other words, this integration and understanding where they sit on a spectrum. Because if you think about, as I think about retail on a page, experience to efficiency, luxury to value. As my podcast partner, Steve Dennis, says, he's best-selling author, Remarkable Retail, the middle is kind of death in the middle a little bit, right? You're good at something, but you're not great. And to be remarkable, and I saw so many remarkable entries, you really need to be that next level and focus. So I saw a lot of focus on a lot of the entries. I judged a couple of the areas. We did take a break from last year, so we kind of pulled together a lot. I think coming out of this and speaking to retailers, we've gone through and continue to go through a period where execution, safety of employees, safety of customers is paramount. Job 1, 2, and 3. Everything starts after that. So I was so impressed by the community coming together with so many great submissions and so many great initiatives. After they've done that, they've taken care of their people, they've taken care of their customers, they make sure they're safe. I think we're at the beginning of a big period of retail innovation, because if you take all the things we've been talking about, changes in media, changes in customer, changes in environment, changes competitive set, changes in technology, retailers by and large have been trying to get through this, right? The shockwave of demand for toilet paper ridiculously, or the sledgehammer of closures. I'm not going to innovate when my store's closed.
Yeah.
And now they kind of freeze up, right? Starting, let's hope, thank you, science, the things start to free up and stores open up. And then now you're going to see the innovation, a next generation of innovation. And you're starting to get glimpses of that in all the nominations I saw today.
Listen, we're going to end on that note because you got me excited for the future, and that doesn't happen very often these days. Exactly. Hey, Michael, thank you so much. Cheers. Let's try this cocktail out. There's the heat, a little bit of heat, but I like that. A little bit of heat, but I'm getting the citrus as well. I think I don't know if the peel's been steeping. I don't know if that's how it works, but that's delicious.
Just infused. Well, thank you, and Ben, so great to see you again. I'll be popping back on stage later. Have a wonderful event. Thanks everyone for joining us, and
yes,
please
indeed.
Enjoy your own beverages.
Enjoy your beverage. Enjoy the rest of the event. We want to let everybody know that we're going to take a little break for a few minutes before the formal Excellence in Retailing Awards presentation begins at 4 o'clock in about 15 minutes. So we will see you then.